Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. Because every house has to have a foundation, it was laid strongly on my heart to start this podcast with a daily series. I am using the book, The Bible in 52 Weeks, which you can buy for men or for women. I invite you to read along with me. Welcome back. No reading today, so today's all about application, real time. I think it's important to go through the Bible just like the way that I teach my students. I want to look forward at what the latest information that we have in science and back with history. I feel it's important to balance what we're reading in the Bible with what we have in creation. And I think the best way to do that is by going out and looking at what we've been given and practicing what used to be science. Science used to be curiosity. It used to be trying to understand the world around us. But we used to practice science with an understanding that there was a creator of everything. And when you practice science that way, when you reach the end of what you can know, you find God. When you practice science today, I call it $big S science. The way that science is supposed to be practiced correctly today is to practice it without recognition of God. And that is supposed to be the most unbiased. So it's unbiased to reject any notion of a creator God. And so when you practice that kind of science, what you wind up at the end, eventually you reach someplace where you don't know things. And in that science, what you find is human supremacy, human intelligence, human control. And that's a really ugly place to be. So I'll take science the way that we used to practice, with an awareness that we can't know everything, a humbleness that we are looking to seek answers, but we don't already know before we start. So that's a little bit off topic, but I suppose this is our first day 7, so I have to get a little bit into it. Today, I wanted to focus on, ironically, the apple. Actually, the apple and the cucumber. But the apple comes to mind because we started out in Genesis in this week. So it seems like a really great place to start in thinking about apples. Now, there's a lot of debate about what the actual fruit might have been in the Garden of Eden that was used to tempt Eve and then Adam, but predominantly we talk about it as an apple. So set the academic searching aside with me for a few minutes and just go with it. I don't want to explore the apple as far as examining whether or not it was the correct fruit in the Garden of Eden today. I want to talk about the design of the apple, because as we are reading the Bible and we are then walking out to look for the truth of what it is that we're reading, we need to always balance what we're reading in the Bible with the whole Bible, instead of taking one piece out. And I am reading this Bible along in this podcast. I'm reading along, searching with a specific question to God, looking for our health manual in what I'm reading and pulling that out. But I want to make sure that we understand that we are balancing the entire word out of what we say. We can't just take one piece and decide that that's truth. So as I'm looking at the truth of day 1, we looked at the soil. I need to take what I'm reading in the Bible and if you're reading along for the first time, you haven't had a chance to evaluate everything that I may have pulled out of day one against everything that you've read throughout the book. So the way to keep us balanced in truth and we don't stray away from what the intention is in the recorded written history, the instruction manual that we've been given, is to go out into nature and seek the same truth. If what we pull out of the Bible, what we've interpreted or what we think the Bible is saying to us, disagrees with what is happening in nature, then we have a problem and we need to re-examine what our perspective is and look deeper. So I look at nature as a support. It is the practical side of what we're reading in the Bible. It is the actual walking out of the truths that we are learning in the Bible, because God's truth mirrors across his written word and across his creation. So all of the designs that we see in nature are going to mirror in the Bible. So let's take the apple. The thing that came up to me was the design here of the rind. And so many of you my husband is one that liked to peel the apple because he only wanted the sweet flesh on the inside. And that is not the design. If God wanted the apple to only be the inside flesh of the apple, then he would not have designed it with a skin. So why? Why is there a skin on the apple? Especially if most people feel that there's a bitter flavor to our apple. And I'm going to hold up this cucumber too, because you can see the white flesh on the inside that is light and refreshing. And this rind, a lot of people like to take off as well. These fruits and vegetables were designed with this skin, this rind. And we like to take it off because we have been conditioned to believe that bitter, which is the flavor that we get here, that bitter is bad, that it is something that we should get away from. In fact, a lot of times we're taught, now that we are no longer allowed to trust what our body is telling us, we're taught that a bitter flavor is poison. And so more and more people are stepping away from bitter. We're taught not to be bitter in our emotions, even though it is a valid emotion that we can actually have. It is something that we're supposed to suppress or move away from. It's not godly to be bitter. It's not neighborly to be bitter. When in fact, bitter is an experience that we were designed with. It's something that we are allowed to feel. We just aren't supposed to dwell in it. And we can look at that in the apple and the cucumber. This whole apple is not bitter. So if bitter is poison, then why would the apple be coated in it? Does that mean that God designed an apple that meant for us to take the peel away and only eat the sweet beneath? Same with the cucumber. Why? Why is there a bitter rind on the outside if bitter is poison and detrimental? Then we look at the other side. Okay, well, we actually have bitter receptors on our tongue. And it goes beyond that. There are bitter receptors not just on the tongue, but all throughout the digestive system. So why, if bitter is bad and it is not supposed to be something that we are encountering or we're designed to work with, then why do we have those receptors all throughout our body? In fact, the bitter flavor is so critical for our digestion. It kicks off a cascade of reactions. When the bitter touches our tongue receptors, and as it goes down into our digestive tract, it is signaling the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas to produce digestive enzymes, signaling the stomach to bring up proper levels of acid so that we digest our food appropriately. And interestingly enough, it's only in the first, it's best, I should say, it's best to signal this bitter reception and this cascade of signals right as we're eating. So I'll go back. If we've decided that bitter is a good thing, and I can definitely tell you it's a good thing, bitter is important for us. So then why isn't the whole apple bitter? Why isn't the whole cucumber bitter? Why would just the bitter be on the outside edge and then the sweet on the inside? The truth is that we need the bitter. It's critical for our digestion. And so these fruits and vegetables were designed with a skin that started our digestive experience. It's the first thing we encounter when we take a bite. We get that bitter right away, and then we get the sweet. And the sweet is there. This is something that I am on a mission to convey through all of my channels, that the sweet is there for a purpose. It isn't bad for us either. The sweet is there to convey the nutrition. So this apple became red. We have all different colors of apples, but this red apple would signal to a human to come and eat. Look how delicious. Come and eat. It's tempting. It's tempting for a reason, because the plant needs us to eat this and spread the seeds all over so that the plant can survive. So there's a purpose for the plant. And inside of this apple then, or the cucumber, we have the bitter that starts our digestion properly, the sweet that conveys all the nutrition, because in nature, sugar is attached to nutrition. We get the payoff. We get the payoff as the consumer of the fruit. We get the payoff that we are going to eat this and then we're going to discard the seeds. We may eat the seeds and pass it through our digestion. We may carry the seeds elsewhere and plant them. We may discard it into the trash. Either way, these seeds are being conveyed away from the original mother plant, and we are playing a part in the survival of the plant, and the plant is playing a part in our survival and our proper digestion. So in the past, 10, 15 years, you see a lot of garden catalogs that brag about the cucumber. I see in the cucumber seed part, our cucumbers they don't have a bitter rind. And it's a bragging point because people more and more are choosing to play with their fruits and vegetables and to get away from this bitter taste at first. We're moving away from bitter salads. We're moving away from the bitterness on the inside of the apple. But I can tell you that as we play with that, we are losing. The more we monkey with our food so that the toddler in us is most happy, we miss the contrast. That bitter sets off the right chain of events for proper digestion. But without the bitter, we don't get the gloriousness of the sweet. When all it is the sweet, it's pretty blah. If you don't eat an apple with the peel, you do not get the full flavor that is intended there. And apples are pretty blah. So this is fascinating to me when we think about how everything has a design. Everything that is created around us has a purpose, and there is a lesson in it for us, for our health. So before we start to alter it, even to the level of peeling it and going on to the level of selecting our vegetables and fruits away from something that is the original design, we have to think about what we're giving up that God intended for us to have. What is the good that we are walking away from when we alter this beautiful apple and we don't enjoy the bitter with the sweet? So just a few things to think about. I hope God blesses you today and brings you back to listen again with me tomorrow. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really.